Legendary rapper Nas is back with a new album. This time he has released a sequel to the Grammy-winning album that came out only last year, King's Disease, and now we have the sequel King's Disease 2, which there's always a haha funny joke going alongside the idea of sequels and how they often don't ever live up to the original. But I'm here to say that this one tops the original, honestly. What I find most strange about King's Disease is that looking back, I was definitely positive in my review and I definitely liked it. But I can't for the life of me remember much of it. It's like escaped my memory. It's very rare that albums that I actually actively enjoy escape my memory in the way that that album has. But yeah, really weird. But I know it was all right. It was decent. You know, you can count on me for that opinion at least. I did know it was pretty good, but maybe it wasn't good enough to really lodge in my brain for very long. But what I like about King's Disease 2 is that this one is definitely more memorable. This time around, Nas is really giving us some show-stopping performances. I feel like it's been a very long time since Nas genuinely sounded this hungry and confident over these kinds of beats, and to be fair, we don't really often hear him rap over these kinds of beats these days at all. This production across the entire thing is handled so well. Hit Boy is pretty much the main man on this thing, and whenever Hit Boy links up with rappers, it's usually fireworks. I mean, one of my favourite rap albums of 2020 was Benny the Butcher's album, and I do think Burden of Proof was produced fantastically, so there's no denying that Hit Boy is the man for that. And I think it'd be one thing if the production was consistently stealing the spotlight across this thing, but I really don't think it is. I think tracks like Death Row East really perfectly showcase that Nas is really finding great ways to ride these beats really nicely. He keeps you engaged with, you know, the topics of talking about Suge Knight, and the way he kind of keeps interrupting himself with the let's talk about it, and then just kind of like, you know, lays out the little things, the little details that he just wants you to know about each random little kind of vignette or something. It's a good enticing way to kind of keep the listener engaged, and always feels like there's something new and interesting that he wants to tell you about. And I think it's a clever way to structure a track. Tracks like 40 Side offer a different side of Nas, which I think is cool to see, because it feels as though he's not shying away from a more modern contemporary sound in hip-hop. The beat is more like trap inspired. His flow feels more reminiscent of artists in the 2010s, the 2020s, who are giving us this, again, more trap inspired kind of flow, and it, you know, melds really nicely with the kind of production that we're hearing more in the modern day. And it seems as though Nas is happy to give it a go himself. Don't get me wrong, it's not like a Migos song or anything like that. I'm not going to go as far as saying it's on that kind of level, but I feel as though he's trying to edge his way into that kind of thing. He's sounding super confident on Rare. I think this track is structured really well. Again, you've got the beat switch that comes through, which I think sounds really great. It's seamless, and Nas once again is sounding as good as he could on both kinds of beats. I think generally lyrically it's pretty engaging as well across this thing. I think Store Run is one of the better tracks for that. I like the way he's kind of showing his own come up and then sort of twisting it as a way to show how you could become that kind of way. It's similar to things like, you know, I guess you'd hear from Jay-Z, although Jay-Z doesn't necessarily always angle it in the best way. I think the way he uses his own song, The World Is Yours, as a way of kind of just showing, you know, the listener, this could be yours too. It's a pretty inspirational way to approach it. He also brags a little bit on this track, I think, as well, which sort of shows again that, you know, he's here to kind of just tell you that he's still the shit. He should be mentioned with Mick Jagger and Bono, while also saying things like, I inspired those who inspired you to run up millions, and, you know, also saying to the listener, hey, This Could Be You. I love the glossy production on moments, but I think lyrically, again, this track is probably the best. In fact, might be even my favorite song on the whole thing. The entire lyrical section here that I want to read out is really good. Poverty is big business, overrun the Senate. Both parties got policies built for the wicked. Look, in the jungle, you gotta move like an animal and prey on the predators. Which I think is really well written, honestly. I mean, it's not the most unique thing in the world, but I think he sells it really well. And it's pretty straightforward as to what he's talking about, and I think it works. Surprisingly though, the song itself is more about how you just need to take in those moments and remember that you can't really live the ones that, you know, were some of the best in your life, but you can't forget them and you've got to appreciate them too. Pretty straightforward again, but I think, you know, the production, it really heightens what he's saying, and I just think it offers a really great track. Like, it's impressive to me that he's able to just sell such a simple concept like this while also sounding great. The production is great, like just a really well crafted track all around. It's a shame that towards the end of the album you do have a couple of duds in terms of the lyrical theme. There's 2 tracks in a row that basically offer the exact same idea, where he's just basically singing about a girl. No Phony Love and Brunch on Sundays. Brunch on Sundays is easily worse, but I don't necessarily think his perspective on either of these tracks is very good, to be honest. Like, it's not bad, but the lyrics are just pretty straightforward in a way that's not as good as some of the other tracks that sell it. Maybe because it comes across as a bit more cornier, because he's talking about a woman or something like that. I can't really work out why these ones don't work as well, but they just don't really for me. He does link up really nicely with Charlie Wilson on the chorus on No Phony Love, but it's just a shame that some of the verses are just pulling out pretty weak lines. And Brunch on Sundays, the chorus I can't even defend here. I just think he's really stretching his voice. Bloody post pictures on the gram, hashtag blah blah blah, whatever the hell he says as well. It's like, dude, now you're just really trying too hard to fit in with the cool kids. It does feel after these 2 tracks though, the songs that we get after are solid enough, but they're not as engaging and maybe end up becoming the tracks that I've completely forgotten about on King's Disease 1, to be honest. I mean, Count Me In is pretty solid. His flows on this track are pretty good as well. The hook is pretty good, but they're just not as shining as some of the earlier tracks. I mean, I don't necessarily want to remember some aspects of EPMD 2, but at least I'm not exactly going to forget that, whereas I feel like some of the tracks towards the end of the album are just offering what we've already heard throughout the album. Would have been good to see him take a bit more of a risk, maybe with his rapping style. Maybe the production could have got a bit more livelier and animated and just offered a bit of a unique ending to the thing. But yeah, EPMD2 is a point where I need to talk about some of the features on this album, because there is one glaring moment here that confuses me. So Eminem's verse starts off okay. It's fine. I mean, I'm not a big fan of his tone, but you know, 2010s, post 2010s Eminem has been a bit of a rough ride, so I'll take this over some of his other stuff. But when he switches it up though, that flow switch is insane. I do not know what he's doing with his voice here. Is it art? Is this art? It might be. On the flip side though, I think Lauryn Hill actually offers a really good verse on the track Nobody. I think this is probably the best, or maybe not the best, one of the best guest features on the whole thing. I kind of want to say YG has one of the best too. I actually really liked his verse. He sounded pretty fun on that track. But probably generally speaking, with the lyrics and everything and all, Lauryn, I would probably say, has the best. Her verse is just nice as hell. I think her tone really matches the mood. The track is just generally really good up until her verse anyway, and it's great to hear that she doesn't like slow the song down or anything like that. And to be fair, it's been so long since she really made a mark on music. Like, you know, she basically dropped one album and dipped. So I think to kind of come back in this kind of way and still sound good is pretty impressive. The line, they want the same shit but won't take the same risks, is very on point and very poignant. You all know those kinds of people who, you know, just don't really push themselves to take that kind of risk, take that leap, and you just kind of want to kind of just take them and go, do something risky. Might pay off, it might pay off. And to be fair, it's not like Nas himself is taking huge leaps and risks across this entire album, but it still pays off, so it just kind of goes to show, really. So yeah, that's a great way to sum things up, I think. A huge payoff here for Nas. This is genuinely one of the best albums he's put out in such a long time. I mean, anyone that was defending Nasir when it came out, go back to it and then play this and then tell me what's worth defending. Seriously, man, we did not we did not view that album in the best way when it first came out. That album is very forgettable, but this one is not. I'm going to go 7 out of 10. I think it's really good. Falls short of being great just because of some of the weaker moments, I think. But like I say, some fantastic tracks. The production across the board is very strong on this one, and Nas is sounding more confident and cooler than ever. So yeah, really good release here. Let me know your thoughts in the comments if you like it as much as I do. If you like it more than me, that would also be great. Would love to see what people think. Thank you for watching my review. Do have a good day. Subscribe if you haven't already as well, and check out all my links, Patreon, Twitter, all that kind of stuff. It's worth checking out. And subscribe if you haven't already. I've already said that. Goodbye. Have a good day. Goodbye.